Hey True Believers, Englentine here with a review of Action Comics 1004, and if you haven't heard already, this is the issue that Brian Michael Bendis breaks up Lois Lane and Superman. He said he wasn't going to do this, but he actually does, and it's as every bit disgusting and stupid as you would think. Mostly because there's a line where she says, "We'll figure this marriage out." I think if you want to figure out the marriage of Lois and Clark and the family situation with the two of them and John, you should read the Tomasi books. Huh? How about that, Lois and Clark? You'll figure it out. Now, it doesn't even start with that. It starts with this page right here. The opening where she writes, "What if we took these three simple ideas, truth, justice, and the American way, these simple, elegant ideas, ideas that seem almost cliche in today's climate, and turn them into a North Star, not just for who we are as a country, but for what we aspire to be in the future? Regardless of political affiliation, truth no longer stands as a universal concept everyone agrees on. Justice often only serves some, not all of our citizens, as the nightly news shows day after day, the American way. This simple idea that anyone can come here and be treated equally is challenged at the highest level of government. Even if anything were to rewind back to normal, by the time you read this, which it won't, but even if it did, these ideas have been so abused and manipulated that the healing, the attempted to find our compass in the modern age will take years. We are lucky to have someone like Superman who believes in these concepts as a religion. He believes truth, justice, and the American way are the ideas worth fighting and even dying for one day. But there's only so much of the Man of Steel can do for truth. And here we have basically the best grasp of the Lois Lane character. She is a reporter, so more than likely she does lean far left. Therefore, she doesn't think political opinion is opinion, it's truth. And because she believes what she believes, her political opinion is the truth. And if you don't get on board, then you are the one that can't see it. And I think that is where it's nailed. And of course, basically this entire thing is written off of, if you believe what the leftists believe, not the liberals, but what the leftists believe, then you are part of the solution. And if you do not, you are part of the problem. Brian Michael Bendis needs to stop writing comic books because this is... okay, so anyway, the book continues. We get a little bit of hello and how's you doing at the Daily Planet, only to arrive at the real part of the story that's relevant here, where Clark Kent is shown a picture of Lois Lane and Lex Luthor together, and they're in the city, which of course throws Clark Kent back. Now, the gossip columnist who has the picture wants to run the story, but Perry White saying, hey, no, we're not going to do it. He's one of us. He's a family member. We're going to find out what this really means. What's this all about? And the gossip columnist is like, I'm doing my job. Arr! Which brings me to another problem that a lot of comic book writers and artists have today. And it's just kind of, I think the gossip columnist is really taking on that role here. And that is that there is no past. And the past doesn't matter. What matters is now. Oh, there's never been any women in comic books. There's never been any black people in comic books. There've never been anything but white, straight males writing, drawing, or even loving comic books. And this is even from people like Brian Michael Bendis, who is a white... Oh, they've been around forever. Mark Waid's been around forever, but they scream and shout. They've seen it. They know it. They know what they're saying is a lie. Yeah, there you go, which brings me to problem number 3, this scene right here. Superman's very happy to see Lois Lane, so he flies down into the street, and he begins kissing her. Now, this all started, or this particular part of the story started, because he was shown a picture of Lex Luthor with his wife. And all around them are people with cameras, and she says people are taking pictures. He's like, I don't care. Yeah, you do. You know why? Because you want to protect your secret identity, and of course you want to protect Lois Lane's reputation. Who doesn't? Brian fucking Michael Bendis, who cannot write these characters. That's the whole problem here. We have to divorce them. We have to write them differently. We have to make these characters brand new It's like one of my If I Wrote videos we used to do. He says, if I wrote Superman, this is what happens. You break him up. You get rid of the kid. You get rid of everything that made this book awesome so you could write it your way. And then you do it poorly, Brian. You do it freaking poorly. And what's worse is this scene right here. Not the fact that they have sex or anything, but this entire speech is just not Superman and Lois Lane. It is two people who've never known each other before or just started dating. Not Superman and Lois Lane who've been married for years. Or if you go by John's age, a decade. So are you guys ready for this? Okay. Okay. I love the life we have, and I chose to be a wife and a mother, and I regret nothing, but, No, all this recent crazy has revealed again that we are not and never have been and never will be anything close to a normal family. But what I do not know is why we keep trying to act like we are. Normal life rules do not apply to us on any level. We will not have normal family responsibilities to each other or ourselves. And baby, that said, I need to write. It makes you wonder if this is Brian Michael Bendis' way to tell his wife he doesn't want to be around anymore. Now for the first time in a long time, my son doesn't need me, my husband doesn't need me, and baby, I have a story to write. And he says, I need you. She says, you don't need me, you want me. And then he turns the need into something sexual because he goes, I need you. And then the next page, they're doing it. And then he tries to tell her that, hey, you know what? God damn it. Brian Michael Bendis is just so freaking, so bad. But because he tries to say that, but I want you, it's the same thing. And, while he's talking to her, something happens and he has to go off and he has to save the world. Or do whatever it is he's doing here. Looks like he's fighting a stone thing. I don't know. No, he didn't have to leave for that. But Brian Michael Bendis wanted to make a point that they're not a normal couple, nor will they ever be. Forget about the fact that they were just trying to make a normal life for their son. I'm going to get to that in a little bit. And she comes back, and then it's like, she friend zones them. Brian Michael Bendis has Lois friend zone Clark. Now, here's the thing. She can write in the same house that Clark Kent's in. But that's not something Brian Michael Bendis wants. So they're broken up. And John is no longer in the picture. And if you remember, Clark Kent, Superman, did not want his son to go off with Jor-El. This was Lois Lane's idea. So right now, his son is with a guy he didn't want him with. This is not okay, and this wouldn't be okay with Superman. He's actually contradicting what happened before Brian Michael Bendis got a hold of this. And what really bothers me is last year this time, just last year, not even that long ago, I was praising the Superman titles. Superman in Action Comics is being some of the best books you could get. I mean, they really were some of the best books on any comic book shelf. And now, look what Brian Michael Bendis has done to Superman. On the other hand, and in the case of Zorro, and my gosh, I always mess this name up, and Don Diego de la Vega. Yes, I have to admit, I appreciate the fact that in the case of Zorro, we get a writer and artist who actually respects the character that they're writing and drawing, like the Brian Michael Bendis Superman. So thank you to David Avallone and Roy Allen Martinez for crafting a decent story. That's the writer and artist, respectfully. Colorist was Emmanuel Ordez Torres, and letters done by Natalie Jane, and they crafted a very good story. It's a little fantastical. They deal with demons from beyond, or the dead rising. I was a little fishy, or not fishy, but I was a little hazy on that. All you have to know is it's a lot of fun. It really is. It starts, of course, with a dinner party, and you see Zorro and his, I know. Zorro and his wife dancing. At first, it starts off with a little sword fight between the two of them, and you think, wow, they really do draw her like Catherine Zeta-Jones, don't they? They're not going to let that one go, and I don't see why you should. That was a really fun movie. And yes, even the second one that gets a lot of crap is kind of a guilty pleasure of mine. Hey, it's still Zorro. It's not as good as the Mask of Zorro, but it's still good. But the book here, it's just entertaining and it's fun, and there's a sense of danger to things. There's a sense of how are you going to defeat these creatures when, you know, everybody's running them through and everything, and it takes a specific way of killing them to defeat them. And so yes, you do have that sense of suspense to the book. The art is fine. It works for the story. It helps going out. The paneling is good, which is something I've noticed a lot in some Marvel and DC comic books. Paneling just seems to be so off. You know, like it'll be oh, let's put this over here for some reason. And there's no real sense to it, and it breaks the flow of the story. Every panel should help the story along, not, oh, I want to do this because it'll seem cool. While this one, I get the feeling that it does. And I know it's weird to mention that thing, because it's one of those things, like in the movies, there are certain things that if somebody does well, you don't notice their job. But if it's done poorly, you notice it. Kind of weird. I know that's a strange thing to talk about, but colors are good. Everything is just so much fun about this book, and I'm so glad I could give a good review to it. So far, it's been pretty cool for these kind of titles. Lone Ranger, Zorro, and Dick Tracy. I recommend you go out and find. They just started new books. Find all three of them. You will not be disappointed. But that's just my opinion. What is yours? Have you read the Zorro book? Have you read Action Comics 1004? It's probably more likely that you did that one than Zorro. And man, aren't you feeling bad that you did. Anyway, let me know what you thought in the comment below. In the comments section, you know what I'm talking about. Also, don't forget, if you haven't done it already, hit like, share, get word out about the channel. That's always important, very important. And don't forget to hit subscribe and ring that notification bell. Sometimes, just sometimes, YouTube does their job and actually notifies people that there's a video or a live stream out. Now, this is the way I'm trying to make a living. Never lied about that, never hidden that. So if you don't mind helping out the channel, go on over to Patreon. Drop $1 in the till. Helps keep the lights on and helps keep making videos for you. That's a more important thing. I'd like to thank everybody who's already done that. And to everyone, all of the true believers, thank you very, very much for watching.